Guys, today I'm going to be doing a video on my top 10 pound for pound boxers. To start off with, I'll just give you the criteria I personally go by for ranking, for doing my pound for pound rankings, because obviously it's subjective and everybody has their own criteria. I do it based on who I believe has achieved or who has fought the better level of opposition. I do it based on how many weight classes people have done it in. I'd base it on if they're the best in their division. I'd do it based on how many times they've beaten the best in a division. I've done it based on how many fights I think they've had at, or how many wins they've had over world level competition. I've done it based on the risks they take. I've done it based on factors that I feel like pound for pound should be based on. A lot of people do it based on who they think would win in fights, but I think it's hard to establish who would win, for example, between Deontay Wilder and Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson or Deontay Wilder wouldn't have that amount of power in at lightweight, but Shakur Stevenson might still be able to box that style at heavyweight sort of thing. I don't know if I've explained that right, but yeah. So first in my pound for pound, I've got Terence Crawford. He's coming off the back of a big win against Errol Spence, obviously. I think sorry guys, I'd say that's probably the performance of the year in my opinion. It was expected to be a 50-50 fight. I always thought Crawford would win. I didn't think Crawford would win as easily as he did. It's quite the achievement for him to have won as easily as he did. Against the second best in the division, which is why I now put him as pound for pound. He's also had three world titles. He's fought a good level of opposition, I'd say. Like, his level of opposition is not as good as Canelo's, I'd say. I think it's come under scrutiny a bit, Crawford's level of competition. But I feel like his opponents have got worse after he's fought them in a way. Like Gamboa, he was in his peak when Crawford fought him. He was also like on the pound for pound lists, and since then you see the likes of Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis and people like that beating him, but no one's beaten him like Crawford beat him, other than Isaac Cruz, but I think that was like the very tail end of Gamboa's career. So some notable wins off the top of my head for Crawford would be obviously Errol Spence, Sean Porter. No one's ever stopped Sean Porter. That's very impressive. David Avanesian, I think, is quite a good win as well. Who else? Yeah, Kaviauskas, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, Jeff Horn, obviously coming off the back of that Manny Pacquiao win. Julius Ndongo, Victor Postel, Gamboa, Ricky Burns, and I've forgotten the guy who knocked out Amir Khan. The guy who knocked out Amir Khan in the first round. What was his name? That's really going to bother me. Brady Prescott. So I've listed there about 10 names of good level opposition that Crawford's beaten. And he hasn't really lost many rounds, I'd say. Like, the most rounds he's probably lost were early in fights where he like tries to read out his opponents. I also think it's good that he could switch stances. So yeah, I think Crawford's the complete boxer. Yeah, that's why he's my pound for pound number one, and the fact he's done it in 3 weight categories, and he does want to take a risk and fight Canelo. If he fights Canelo, and if he loses to Canelo, I don't think he'd drop in my pound for pound rankings, because he's going up 21 pounds to fight Canelo, unless it's at catch weight. And not many people have ever done that, and that's really impressive from Crawford to have that sort of mindset. I was listening to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and yeah, just his mindset's really good. I love his mindset. Then moving on to the next one, Alexander Usyk. Moved up to heavyweight in the past years. So I think, personally, I don't put heavyweight to my pound for pound list. But for Usyk, I would have to say he is on there because he was a cruiserweight and he's moved up to heavyweight. And I would say he's probably still not a big heavyweight like the Joshuas and Furies and stuff like that, obviously. But he gets advantages over his opponent based on hand and foot speed. Yeah, he's just a really good fighter. I love his combinations. He's constantly moving, constantly feinting, constant head movement, constant footwork. Yeah, he's just a really good fighter to watch. The fact that he's gone up from to heavyweight from cruiserweight is really impressive, and the fact that he's fought people like Anthony Joshua, and now he's going to fight Tyson Fury. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on against Tyson Fury. If he beats Tyson Fury, I'd say he's probably number one on my list, potentially. Depends on the manner he beats Tyson Fury. If he does beat Tyson Fury, I just think he's a really special boxer. So notable people he's beaten, Glavatsky, he's beaten Bradis, Hook, he's beaten who's the other guy? He's beaten Joshua Chisora, he's beaten Michael Hunter, he's beaten he's beaten some good level of opposition, and yes, he doesn't get the knockouts at heavyweight, but I think he's beaten Dubois as well, sorry. But he's fought a good level of opposition, and it's really good to see a cruiserweight move up and not rely on his size. And it's Gassiev was another name, sorry. He's also moved up to heavyweight now. He's won the World Boxing Super Series, and he was also undisputed at cruiserweight. Another thing, sorry, to talk about with Crawford, he's the first boxer in the full belt era, or just in general, I think, to be undisputed in two weight classes, 140 pound and 147 pound, which is another big reason why he's at number one in my pound for pound rankings. But anyway, on to Usyk. He is undisputed at cruiserweight. He beat everyone in his era at cruiserweight. Bellew he's also beaten, sorry. Yeah, he's just a very special talent, and he's beaten a good level of opposition, and I'm looking forward to the Fury fight. I think he might be able to beat Fury, which would potentially put him up in my pound for pound rankings. Then we're moving on to Naoya Inoue. A lot of power for those lower weight divisions. I think he's come up from flyweight. He's now fighting at super bantamweight, which is 122 pounds. So he's moved up by a stone, I think, because he might have started at light fly actually. So I think that's 105 to 122. So that's 17 pounds. He's moved up. Still knocking people out. Even in his last fight, he knocked out Stephen Fulton. I was really impressed by that fight. Just dominated Stephen Fulton. I rated Stephen Fulton quite highly, but he's just absolutely dominated Stephen Fulton. Brilliant hand speed, brilliant power, amazing body shots. He's beaten people like... So I think he's a full-weight world champion. Sorry, he was undisputed at bantamweight, and he's also fighting Marlon Tapales on December 26th, which is a fight I'll be previewing soon, and then he can become a two-weight undisputed world champion as well. That could that could potentially put him up to number 2 on my pound for pound rankings, potentially, but I guess we'll have to see. Like, a lot of its pound for pound rankings are fluid. He's beaten some good people like Nonito Donaire twice. The first fight was an absolute war. The second fight, I think he knocked him out in the second round. Brilliant performance. He's beaten Rodriguez. He's beaten Maloney. He's beaten Fulton. He's beaten... my mind's gone blank on who else he's beaten. But he's beaten a lot of a high-level opposition. I say he's beaten Paul Butler. He's beaten a high level of competition, and that's why he's so high on my pound for pound rankings. He's beaten the best in the weight classes. The only thing I could say was potentially fighting Chocolatito when he was in the super flyweight division, but obviously he can't move back down there now. Hopefully he'll be able to go up to featherweight next year after a win on December 26th. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does with the rest of his career. He's a really exciting talent. He's got amazing punching power, and he could potentially become the best at featherweight. It'd be interesting to see how far he can go with his size limitations, obviously. Yeah, just interesting to see what happens with him. Then we got Canelo Alvarez, who's number 4 ranked in my pound for pound. He's won world titles in the 154-pound super welterweight division, middleweight division, which is 160-pound. He's undisputed in the 168-pound division, super middleweight, and he's won a world title in the light heavyweight division. Really impressive performances. I would say he's probably got the overall level of his opponents. I would say he's probably got the best resume. His resume is insane. He's got the people that he's got that are seen as stepping stone or walkovers are like Anthony Yildirim and John Ryder and Rocky Fielding. There's still a good level of opposition that a lot of people wouldn't be able to beat. So he's got those 3 on his resume. He's got Kovalev. He's lost to Bivol, obviously, but he tried to be great. Bivol's just an elite boxer. He's fought Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, who's an absolutely massive super middleweight. He's fought who else has he fought? He's fought Danny Jacobs. He's fought Golovkin twice. He's fought Chavez Jr. He's fought Austin Trout. He's lost to Mayweather earlier in his career. He's fought Erislandy Lara. He's fought Jamel Charlo. He's fought a very good level of opposition throughout his career. He's fought Cotto as well. His resume is just insane. Like the people that he's fought, Amir Khan as well. When Amir Khan was in his prime, it's just insane, his level of competition, and it's really impressive to see a modern day boxer go from hard fight to hard fight to hard fight. Even though recently I've been speaking about he needs to fight Benavidez. Overall in his career, he's fought some of the best competition he could possibly fight. Then he's also done it in 4 weight classes, which for me means that the longevity of his career as well. His head movement is unreal. The longevity of his career, he's just fought for so many years now, probably half of his life he's been a professional. It's insane. Number 5, Devin Haney. He's moved up a lot since the weekend. I had him at number 10 or 9, I think. But now he's number 5 in my rankings because he's done it in 2 divisions now. And some people thought Prograis was potentially the best in the division. I think Haney is the best in the division potentially, or Lopez. I did think Lopez was definitely better than Prograis, but it's between the 2 now, Lopez and Haney, which I'll speak about Lopez in a minute because he's also high in my pound for pound rankings. Devin Haney he's a masterful boxer. His movement, his footwork's underrated. He's really big. He's fought his last 6 fights probably have been a very good level of competition for someone of his age. I think he's only 25, so he's fought since his competition's gone up. He's fought, or even before his competition went up, I think he fought Abdulayev, who's also beaten Linares now. He's fought Moran, who's gone up to 140 pounds now, and he's got some good wins there. But since his level's gone up to more well-known competition, he's fought Gamboa, Linares, Jojo Diaz, Cambosos twice in Australia, which is very good. He's also fought to become undisputed. He's also fought Lomachenko, who some people saw as the best in the division, but he's beaten Lomachenko, very close decision. And then he's now beaten Regis Prograis. I'll speak about him in a future video, potentially about Fighter of the Year, during the end of year award video that I'm going to do. He's just a very good boxer, and I'd say he's a future pound for pound star potentially, not because of the way he fights, because I don't think that's going to be good for the casual fans, but I think because of his personality. It's going to be a bit like Mayweather potentially, the personality. He fights more like Mayweather at the latter end of his career, so the money, not the pretty boy Floyd, the money Mayweather, I'd say he's more fights like. But I think his personality, his ego will get people tuning in because they probably want to see him lose, like people did Money Mayweather. So it's interesting to see what happens next. I'd like to see him fight the number 6 in the pound for pound rankings, Teofimo Lopez. He's a 2-division world champion as well. He was undisputed at 135 pound, which is lightweight, so the same division Haney was undisputed at. Technically, he wasn't undisputed because Haney had a WBC title that was not and Lopez had a franchise title or something, but I still class Lopez as undisputed. Even though officially he wasn't, but I still see him as an undisputed champion because he beat Lomachenko, who had a WBC franchise title, which is basically where he was elevated from the WBC champion and didn't really get a choice in that. He's fought Nakatani, Richard Comey, Lomachenko, dominated Lomachenko. Well, not dominated, he dominated the first half of the fight, then the second half of the fight was much closer. But he still beat Lomachenko. I'd say he beat him better than Devin Haney did. He lost to Kambosos, but I think that was purely to do with the weight. He was just so drained at the weight. I think that loss to Kambosos means that he's below Haney, but he's also beaten Josh Taylor, who was the Ring Magazine title holder, which means you're the best in the division, at 140 pounds. So he's had Ring Magazine titles in 2 weight divisions, and I think that means he's got to be quite high in the pound for pound rankings. Lopez got power, very good fighting style, and he could be fighting Matthias next year, hopefully. I'd like to see Haney and Lopez fight next year, and then potentially the winner of that might go ahead of Canelo, I'd say, potentially, unless Canelo fights Benavidez. That's the only fight I want to see Canelo in, like I've spoken about a lot recently. Then next on the pound for pound list is Dimitri Bivol. He's only got 1 title at 175 pound, which is light heavyweight. Beterbiev's got the other 3, and I'll be speaking about Beterbiev soon. Bivol, I want to see him fight Beterbiev. He's fighting Lyndon Arthur on the Saudi card, which is next weekend, which I'll be doing a big preview for, because that's like one of the best cards we've seen in boxing for years, potentially ever. Bivol, amazing footwork. He beat Canelo, which is potentially why I've put him so high. I haven't put him ahead of Canelo because Canelo's the much smaller person. For me to put him ahead of Canelo in that top 5, he'd need to beat Beterbiev. So interesting to see what happens with Bivol next year. His footwork is just amazing. He was potentially the fight of the year last year. He's beaten the likes of Zurdo Ramirez, Joe Smith Jr., which I think is an underrated win. Who else has he beaten? He's beaten Sullivan Barrera. He's beaten Canelo. He's beaten who else has he beaten? He's beaten Pascal. He's beaten a good level of opposition overall, I think. And he's only had about 20 fights, so a lot of those have been a decent level of opposition. as he's moved up the levels, his power hasn't been as amazing, but his boxing footwork, his boxing IQ, everything about his boxing style is just, he's one of my favourite boxers to watch. Then number 8, we've got Errol Spence. He's dropped quite a bit since his loss to Terence Crawford because of how dominant that win was from Terence Crawford. But I think Terence Crawford's just that good, and it's not a knock on Spence, it's just how good Terence Crawford actually is. Errol Spence has beaten a good level of opposition before his loss to Crawford, and he did have 3 of the 4 belts. He's beaten Kell Brook, he's beaten Sean Porter, he's beaten Mikey Garcia, he's beaten Danny Garcia, he's beaten Yordenis Ugas. He's beaten a good level of opposition, and because of that, I need to put him in the top 10, I'd say, because the people just below him have had more losses when they've stepped up, I'd say. Well, not necessarily when they've stepped up, or they just haven't fought the level of opposition that Errol Spence has overall. Good volume puncher, probably doesn't have that amazing one punch knockout power, but he does have very good sustained, probably thudding power because of his high punch volume. And then number 9, we've got Shakur Stevenson, who's a masterful boxer. I could see in the future him potentially being pound for pound number 1. He's training with Terence Crawford, which can only improve him. He's won titles in 3 weight divisions now. He's beaten the likes of Jarek Gonzalez. He's beaten who else has he beaten? He's beaten Oscar Valdez. He's beaten Nakatia, who was actually quite an underrated win at the time because it was quite a boring performance, but he did beat Nakatia, then went on to beat Miguel Berchelt, which I think's a good win. So it shows the level of opposition, or shows the level that Nakatia is actually at, because he's quite unknown when he fought Stevenson. He's fought Valdez, he's fought Herring, he's fought Diaz in the featherweight division. He's fought De Los Santos, but it's a lot to do with his performances. He hardly gets hit. Yeah, he's a very good boxer, and I'm always beating Conceição as well. Yeah, he's a very good boxer, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next year. Hopefully he'll be able to get a big fight against Gervonta Davis or someone like that. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who were in the 135-pound division, who were big money fights, have moved up in weight. Hopefully he could get the winner of Lomachenko and Kambosos, or he could fight just someone on a good level like Davis potentially, but I can't see Gervonta Davis taking that fight because he doesn't fight the best level of opposition. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. I hope he gets good fights next year because he definitely wants them, he definitely deserves them. And yeah, then we've got Arthur Beterbiev at number 10. He's knocked out all of his opponents. His last fight against Anthony Yarde got a bit outboxed in the first couple of rounds, and it just absolutely dominated him with his power, his combinations, his footwork. Constant forward pressure is just amazing. A bit inactive, which is potentially why he's not as high in my rankings. If he beats Bivol, he'd be in the top 5 because that would be a very good win. He's beaten Joe Smith Jr., he's beaten Anthony Yarde, he's going to fight Cam Smith in January. He's beaten Gvozdyk, he's beaten... Who else has Beterbiev beaten? But yeah, he's beaten a good level of opposition, I'd say. And the fact that they've all been knocked out is just a good accolade to have, I'd say. I'm excited for what happens next year with Beterbiev. Hopefully the Saudi money will be able to get them a fight for... or Bivol and Beterbiev. Hopefully it'll be able to get them to fight. And I'm excited to see what happens next year with Beterbiev hopefully fighting Bivol, like I've just said. I think it's interesting to see with my pound for pound rankings that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are in the are currently in the lightweight, super lightweight, or welterweight division. It just shows the talent in those divisions. Spence probably moving up though, which would leave that one out. But I think it's just interesting to see the talent in those divisions, and hopefully they'll all move up in weight classes together, and we'll get to see the best fights. Yeah, thanks guys for listening. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you guys.